Hello. So, as it sometimes happens, the Gospels seem to conflict a bit. Here's my personal conclusion. Maybe it's not what is actually the case, but here it is. Sometimes the Gospels have a particular focus in mind when mentioning a person. They present them feeling only one way. However, as you know, we as humans can often have a mix of feelings. Matthew 28:8 says that the women were afraid yet filled with joy. So it is possible to have multiple feelings and thoughts at the same time. Let's read then get into it. We're starting in John chapter 20, verse 11. Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." When Mary and the other women came to the empty tomb, as we've covered in Luke, they were told by the two angels that Jesus has risen. It says that they remembered his words, which excited them. But as you can guess, it was a confusing time. They might not have known what the resurrection entirely was, and they might have had doubt that maybe they were crazy, as the disciples said. So Mary went back to the tomb sad because she wasn't sure what was happening. When she found the angels again, she wanted to know where Jesus was. Jesus was already Mary's savior because he had driven demons out of her. Jesus was her shepherd and her friend. If I had to explain it, she was like a daughter that had lost her father. She was full of fear because she was confused. At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you were looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him." Mary probably couldn't even have lifted Jesus, but her love for him was so great that she wasn't thinking clearly. And Jesus obviously knew she was looking for him, but he asked who she was looking for to help her believe. Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." He just said her name, and she understood. Then the joy came back to her. Based on the original text, it seems that Jesus meant, "Stop holding on to me," which would imply that they did hug. It could have been a very long hug. But Jesus knew that the hug had to end because his task wasn't exactly done. He had to ascend into heaven. But as you probably know, he didn't ascend for a bit. This was because he had to show himself to many others, and he tasked Mary with telling others first. He says, "Go tell my brothers." What he meant was those who loved him, which would be the disciples, who even though they ran away, are still his friends. She was to tell his mother and actual brothers, maybe Nicodemus and Joseph, maybe people who he healed. Now was the time for all of Jesus' loved ones to know. He is alive. More of these accounts next time. Thanks for listening.